Welcome to the NFL. Let's go! Let's go!
Titans fans, are you ready for some football?
Spartans! What is your profession?
Welcome to Two-Tone Blue Nation. By fans, for fans. Two-Tone Blue Nation. Organizing tailgates and events. If you're all about Tennessee Titans football, this is your podcast.
Here we go!
And here comes your hosts, Big Luke, King Cole, and Austin Hall.
Welcome, everyone. This is Two-Tone Blue Nation Talk, the podcast by fans for fans. I'm King Cole, joined here by Big Luke and Austin Hall, who is back from his trip to Mexico. He left us high and dry last week. Wasn't really for the boys, but we're glad he had a good time, glad he got back safe. Guys, how we doing today after winning the AFC South?
I'm doing great. Not as great as Austin. I wasn't in Mexico in paradise on a beach. But, we won our first AFC South championship in 12 years. I remember the day, actually, when we won our last one. I was in the end zone. It was the Browns-Titans on CBS. And Chris Johnson had a run. I think it was on, 3rd and 19 for a first down when Jeff Fisher was running it out of shotgun. So it's a great moment. And I'm proud to be a Titans fan right now.
Yeah, I'm doing well too. I did go to Mexico. I had a good time, but on Sunday I made it a priority to watch my Titans. So I was definitely for the boys, even though I was in another country. And I found this NFL bar in Isla where I was staying for the week. And it was pretty cool because they had about 30 TVs in there. Every game was on. The food was great. It was all themed after NFL teams. The Titans' food was like a hot dog or something boring like that, and everyone else got cool food to their team name. But, I got to watch the entire game live. It was insane. I was the only Titans fan in there, but, I'm super excited they won the AFC South. It was incredible.
He ate the Raven tacos.
Absolutely not.
Two-Tone Blue Nation had a small gathering at a local watering hole, party foul there in Franklin. We were able to have the almost the entire patio section to ourselves. Turns out the only thing that Austin loves more than party foul is Cancun. Who'd have thought?
I mean, how can you turn down a trip, to another country and still get to watch your Titans win the AFC South? But I did miss the boys, though.
Yep, we're not jealous, not even a little bit. Real quick, Texans game, the recap. Henry hit 2,000, finished the season with 2,027 yards, 250 on the day. AJ got his 1,000 yards. It included a miracle grab there at the end of the game to set up the game-winning field goal by one Sammy Sloman. Guys, what did we think about the game? Just real quick thoughts. Defense struggled, but overall got the result we wanted.
First off, I want Sam's birth certificate because there's no way that guy is older than 18. It was fantastic. It really did piss me off, though, when Henry got the 2,000 yards. And all they did was a little graphic. It's like it's an everyday thing. Actually, I've been reading through Twitter, and a lot of people have been bringing that up. A lot of different people in the national media have actually mentioned, wow, it's strange that no one's talking about Derrick Henry in the year that he just had. And I just saw a graphic that was showing, MVP candidates and Offensive Player of the Year candidates. And Henry wasn't on the MVP list, and he was third on Offensive Player of the Year. Do people not understand how big of an accomplishment this is?
Well, and to further accentuate that, this will be the last time that anyone runs for 2,000 yards in a season that features 16 games. The NFL is going to add an extra game starting next year, which will, probably diminish the 2,000-yard mark a little bit. You'll have a lot of guys getting closer and probably hitting the mark in the years to come. So for him to be the last person to do it in this era should have been an even bigger deal. However, again, like you said, it's not getting the attention that it deserves. I know a lot of Titans fans feel slighted. We're kind of used to it, though. I mean, we've we're a small market team and we don't get a lot of attention. If Derrick Henry played for the Cowboys or the Packers or the Steelers, he would be in the MVP discussion, I think. Austin, what are your thoughts?
Well, back to your other question, just kind of reviewing the game. I know in the first half we definitely started off strong, and it was kind of frustrating. Just I could hear it in the bar, like the announcers talking and everything, and they would mention how close Henry was, maybe every like 10 game time minutes, but they wouldn't mention it in between or have a tracker on the TV or anything like that. So it was hard to kind of follow along, especially if you weren't looking at your phone and looking at ESPN stats or whatnot. Anyway, they came out in the second half and came out kind of flat. The defense has been playing, below average all year, and they let the Texans pass all over them and come back in the game. And, it made it interesting. We know how it ended. It ended very well. Got the win, AFC South. But to your next question about Derrick Henry, he's done some amazing things this year. He's definitely not getting the recognition he deserves. And I know we all saw this, but he's only the second player in history to cross over 2,000 yards and over 15 touchdowns. Terrell Davis was the other one who had over 2,000 yards and I think finished with 21 touchdowns. So that's incredible. I mean, he should be the top of the MVP race right here. And I don't know. It's partly because he's not a quarterback. It's a quarterback award, mainly, maybe a little bit because we're in a small market. But I think he should be at the top. It's, like I said, one of two players in history to go over 2,000 yards and 15-plus touchdowns. And how many quarterbacks have done what Aaron Rodgers has done, this season? There's at least
over 30.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's partly because the position he plays and the small market we're in, but I believe he should be at the top of the race right now.
Here's the thing that bothers me about this the most, though. Derrick Henry's also playing in a league that is very different than prior years. I mean, there used to be 17, 18,000 yard rushers. Now you've only got a couple. You got 4 or 5, and one of them's the quarterback. So it's you don't see many bell cow running backs anymore. They're almost extinct. And for Derrick Henry to do it in today's NFL with everyone focusing on him as well, I think he faced more defenders in the box than any other running back all season long. It seemed like 70% of the time they stacked the box on us. For him to get those 2,000 yards, I saw a stat, and I believe he'd be the the third leading rusher. Take away all his, if you just add up his yards after contact, which if that's the case, that's insane.
All right, so we've talked about Derrick Henry's big year, his big day in Houston. Looking ahead now, we get to host a playoff game for the first time since 2008. We've got a familiar foe coming into town with the Baltimore Ravens. Guys, they're coming off a big win over Cincinnati in Week 17. They won 38-3, had over 400 yards rushing in that game, which is no small task. They ended the regular season on a 5-game win streak, beating Dallas, Cleveland, Jacksonville, the New York Giants, and Cincinnati. During that stretch, they averaged 36 points per game on offense while only allowing 17 points per game, roughly. And that number that they allowed is buoyed by a big performance by the Cleveland Browns. In the other 4 games, the team struggled to even get to double-digit points. They have a very good defense, guys. First in blitz rate at 44%. They come in at second in overall QB hits on the year. Getting to a fast start against these guys and getting the momentum going is going to be a must. You can't let the big emotional win from last week be the pinnacle of your season. You've got to keep moving forward. And our team really needs to refocus because Baltimore is out for blood. They want to do to us what we did to them last year and knock us off our pedestal. All that being said, Big Luke, what's your takeaway from Baltimore's hot streak coming into the playoffs?
Well, they're healthy. Last time we played them, they had a few players out, including Campbell, who's we know him from his time in Jacksonville. He's a hell of a player. He's a monster. So they finally got healthy, and it seems like Jackson has really heated up. So they're just clicking right now. They're rushing all over teams. They almost broke the NFL record for rushing yards. I think they had over 400 yards last week. they're clicking. They're playing a lot better than we played them early this season. We're gonna have to play even better to be able to beat them.
Austin, what do you think we need to do in order to set the tone against Baltimore, who's coming in with a lot of momentum? They've got a chip on their shoulder. They've got a little bit of swagger coming in, and they feel like they owe us one. So what does Tennessee need to do to kind of level the playing field there in what's going to be a very emotional playoff game for both teams?
We know what we need to do, and everyone else knows what we need to do, and that's just ground and pound with Derrick Henry. Exactly. Live and die by the play action with Tannehill, and 99% of the time we live by it. So ground and pound with him, and they've been on a tear lately. They're 5-0 in their last 5 games, and ever since Lamar came off the COVID list, and they've been averaging 37 points a game on offense. So they're heating it up right now, and of course they have the number 1 rushing offense in the league. We've got the number 2. They're a little far ahead over us. They average about 192 yards per game. And I will say, we know how Lamar Jackson is. We get a lead on him and force him to throw. It's more than likely put a little bit of pressure on him because he's not the best passer. But yeah, make throws outside. We probably have to do Rashaan Evans or David Long and spy on Lamar Jackson and just force him to throw. But I don't know. Our defense definitely has to play average, because if they play below average like they have been, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be another high-scoring game because I know our offense can get it done.
Hey, something to pay attention to. Garrett, you brought this up. What about Brown? Not having Brown might be an issue. He's a fantastic linebacker in run support and coverage, and he's fast enough to be able to keep up with Lamar.
Yeah, so Jayon was very instrumental in the first game this year that we've played Baltimore, going back to, I believe, 7 weeks ago. Jayon is great in coverage against tight ends. He kind of shadowed Mark Andrews across the middle, did a good job of keeping him in check. He's a pretty decent spy. He contained Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, I think, probably had his worst game, maybe his worst game of the year against us earlier in the season. Not having Jayon is going to be crucial. David Long's really going to have to step up. But, guys, if you remember, David Long played in the playoffs against Baltimore and played well last year. So, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he comes in and doesn't miss a beat.
Long has speed. He's a passionate, aggressive player. In fact, I want to see us use him more in pass rushing situations because I feel like he's good at that. But he's horrific in coverage, and I think that's one area where Brown was very, very strong, where Evans and Long are both not exactly coverage linebackers.
Yeah, we're definitely missing a key element of our defense, Jayon. Our defense is not better without Jayon, that's for sure. A couple of quick numbers here. We talked about the Ravens offense and how they are first in the league in rushing. They've got two running backs and a quarterback that all average 5 yards per carry or more. I believe Dobbins is actually averaging 6 yards a carry now. He's really come on strong down the stretch for Baltimore. Pretty unique statistic here for the Ravens offense is they come in dead last for passing yards, but at the same time, they come in at 13th in the league in passing touchdowns. So when they get down in the red zone, they are very efficient at finding the open receiver and not just running the ball in, but actually, connecting with the tight ends, especially down there near the goal line.
Isn't Lamar like 45-0 right now? Touchdowns to turnovers in the end zone? The red zone, sorry?
Yeah, he's never turned the ball over in the red zone.
I remember when we were tracking that statistic with Mariota, I think he got to 38, 39 until he threw he had his first turnover versus the Chargers in London. It's a very impressive stat to get into your 40s. I know that Aaron Rodgers has done it a couple of times, but there's not many quarterbacks that can do that.
Yeah, Lamar definitely plays to his strengths. They set up the play action very well. He's able to extend plays outside the pocket with his athleticism. For all the things that people say about Lamar Jackson and passing the ball, he does what works for him. He plays to his strengths, and they call plays that benefit his skill set. And that's why the Ravens have been so good since he's taken over for them.
If you're attacking this Ravens defense, what are you doing, Garrett? Where are you going?
Yeah, so this Baltimore defense is very aggressive. Again, we mentioned earlier their blitz rate is first in the NFL. They're not the greatest tackling team, though, despite being so aggressive. Got to get the run game going early. They're going to try to run blitz. They're going to try to shut everything down and hit Derrick Henry in the backfield before he's able to get his momentum going, which we've seen teams do in the past. If you can do that successfully, that's how you beat the Titans, because at that point, then, it takes away the Titans' bread and butter. Speaking of the play action, Baltimore's defense versus play action ranks in the bottom half of the league, and a lot of that has to do with their blitz rate. The linebackers shoot the gaps too soon, leaves a lot of guys open in coverage, puts their safeties in a bad spot. And I think this is going to be a game where if we can get the run game going, we're going to have a lot of quick play action passes and slants over the middle to A.J. Brown and Corey Davis.
Definitely we have to get the play action going. Selfishly, I would like to see Tannehill be put in a situation where the running game's not working out, play action gets shut down, and I want to see him being forced to throw it and moving the ball down the field. We haven't seen much of that. He's been very, very comfortable this season. It's not that I want my quarterback to be uncomfortable, but I feel like for us to take that next step, for us to win a Super Bowl trophy, we need to see that from Tannehill.
I just want to bring up the last couple games that the Titans have gone against the Ravens. The most recent one in November, they actually held Lamar to just 51 rushing yards and only 186 passing yards with an interception and a touchdown. So we slowed them down by making them throw outside, keeping Rashaan Evans on them, like I said. Even the game before that, the divisional game in the playoffs, Jackson, he accumulated over 500 yards, but forced them to turn the ball over so many times it made them uncomfortable. And a lot of those yards were towards the end of the game when they were down and just we were playing a little zone defense and, making the clock somewhat run down. But yeah, if we can just force them to throw even a couple turnovers, maybe one or two very early in the game, that'll fluster them and that'll pretty much be over, just in my opinion.
Yeah, the game script really hasn't changed much. Like I said, we've already played them twice in the last 365 days. The teams are, while they're different, they are still, mostly the same. So the game script's going to remain the same. Both teams are going to come in and try to establish their brand of football, and whoever is able to get the momentum going early is going to have the success. Obviously, not turning the ball over is going to bode well for the Titans. The Titans this year did finish first in turnover differential, so we've been good at doing that all year long, controlling the ball, not giving away too many free possessions to the opposing teams. But Lucas, going back to the point you made as far as wanting to see Tannehill take over a game and not having to rely on play action, he's actually been pretty successful this year when he's had to make things happen and the play action's not working. One reason or one theory that I have as to why he's more successful with play action as opposed to not having it is the speed at receiver. Our receivers are big possession receivers, and while they're great route runners, I think sometimes it's hard for them to get elite separation off corners, and so that really kind of throws the offense for a loop. We don't have the speed guy that can just burn people and run quick routes. We're really relying on our receivers to out-muscle and really come down with a lot of 50-50 balls. Now, while Tannehill's very accurate, I think obviously the play action allows for that extra step or two for the receivers to get open, and that's why it's designed that way. But I think that's why our offense is as efficient as it is, because we've got the 2,000-yard back that everybody's having to account for, and then that allows the receivers to get elite amounts of separation.
Oh, I definitely agree with that assessment. You and I have talked about that. I talk to people all the time about Titans and a speedy receiver. I think we've needed one now for a while. And then you look at teams like Kansas City with Hill, or even look what happened to Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo's offense went through the roof when they got Diggs, and Diggs is that explosive, speedy guy. You have to account for those guys. You can't stack the box, and when you can't stack the box, your running game can get explosive. Could you imagine Derrick Henry if he doesn't have 7 or 8 guys constantly trying to tackle him?
No doubt, it is a missing element to our offense. You look around the league, the teams that are, elite, air quotations elite. You've got Kansas City, who has Tyreek Hill, who's obviously probably the fastest guy in the NFL. You mentioned Stephon Diggs in Buffalo. Every team that's got a high-powered offense has got that one guy that can take the roof off of a defense. We don't have that, and I think while our guys are good route runners, they don't have the speed to separate when there's no play action consistently.
No, and A.J. Brown is elite. He's one of the best receivers in the league, and I think he's going to be a superstar for many, many years. But he's not a burner. That's not his game. He's a yak guy. He's a guy that's going to make the physical catch. He's going to rip the ball out of the air. And then once he has it in his hands, he's shifty, and he can make things happen. But, between him and Davis, you're right. We just don't have that deep threat, that guy that's going to be able to run a go route and just burn the safety. Hey, something else I want to really mention. Do you guys think Hooker's going to get a lot more time this week with the Ravens? I was going back and looking at highlights, and I forgot how good of a game Hooker had versus them. I think he needs to be a priority. He needs to be out there. And as much as I like Kenny, he's just not as good as Hooker, especially in pass coverage.
Well, Vaccaro's he's a hammer. I mean, he'll hit you. He'll put you on the grass. Definitely not as good as covering as Hooker, but I don't know. I thought we played better as a entire defense with Hooker in there for some reason. I can't pinpoint it, but maybe it's just that he can cover better. And Vaccaro seems a little slower, and I don't know if he's not playing as well as he was last year. I know that has to do with the pass rush being non-existent. But yeah, I think Hooker will definitely get more playing time in the playoffs if he still keeps up what he's doing.
How about Butler, too? I just don't think that guy's getting enough credit as well. That guy, he's playing lights out. There's still a ton of Titans fans that are bashing on him, talking about, he has obvious weaknesses. You're not going to put Malcolm Butler on a guy like Hill. You're setting yourself up for failure with that. He's not good where there's really quick receivers. But everyone else, you put him up with a guy like A.J. Brown or with a Corey Davis. That's where he plays. That's where he excels. And he never misses a tackle. How many times this season have we seen someone one-on-one with Butler? He wraps up. It seems like they always go down. He's actually the ideal player for playing a guy like Lamar, because what does Lamar do? Breaks people's ankles. They miss tackles. That's one thing Butler does very, very well, and we're going to need him.
Yeah, he's probably the exact mirror opposite of Adoree Jackson when it comes to open field tackling, because Adoree Jackson, for all that he is, and I like Adoree, an open field tackler, he is not. Malcolm Butler is, you hit it right on the head. He doesn't get enough credit. I see it every time I log on to Facebook. Everyone wants to immediately cut Malcolm Butler and go draft a guy, because as we know, drafting a guy immediately fills a hole. That's why we have such a solid right tackle, and we have such a solid third down running back, and that Cole McDonald kid, he's going to be just the future at quarterback. So, cutting your all-pro players and drafting guys always works.
Especially when you have other guys to back them up.
Yeah. Going back to Hooker, I'll touch on that again. I wouldn't be surprised, probably not going to use a whole lot of it, but you may see a lot of 3 safety sets. Like you said, Austin, Vaccaro is a hammer. He's athletic. He's going to be able to cover while he's not the best covered safety. If you want to bump him down into that linebacker spot and kind of use him as a spy, or use him in man coverage against the tight end, there's that opportunity there. You can rotate a lot of pieces around and use safeties as containment on Lamar Jackson if you want to bring one down and spy him. I think I like that a lot more than Rashaan Evans trying to spy him, because while Rashaan Evans is good between the tackles, once Lamar breaks contain, I think I'd rather have a guy like Hooker or Vaccaro trying to keep or set the edge. So look out for a lot of that come Sunday.
This is one thing that I actually I think's to our benefit. We're talking about how bad our pass rush is every game. Our shitty pass rush actually may be to our advantage this game, because we do have some talented players in the secondary, and we've got some talent at linebacker. Teams often with Lamar Jackson, they over pursue him, and that's what creates these big holes, and that's why you see these big runs. Well, with us, we tend to sit back in coverage. We play a lot of man. I think it's going to lead to a lot of issues for Lamar because Lamar's going to have to throw it down the middle of the field, and he's going to have to throw it accurately to be able to beat us.
All right, guys, so the time for talk is over. The game is coming up. Numbers and stats and analytics aside, who else would you rather play than the Baltimore fucking Ravens? The Tennessee Titans' oldest rival. The rivalry adds another chapter this Sunday at Nissan Stadium. Moment of truth, guys. Got to do our predictions here. I'll be honest with you, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. Some say it can't be done, but whoever said that's fucking stupid because the Titans are going to do it. Titans are going to win this game by the score of 28-24. Lucas.
I'm going, well, you give our defense a lot of credit. I'm going to go 33-30. I think it's going to be a Titans. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think we're going to pull it off in the end.
All right, Austin. How's it going to go?
All right. Well, we all expect Derrick Henry to get the ball about 30 carries this time, and he will. The last game they played in November, they held him to 4.8 yards a carry, which is still above average in the NFL, but it's a little below average for him, and I think he's a little upset about that, even though he did have the game-winning run in overtime. I know it's hard to beat a team 3 times. I know we haven't played 3 times this season, but I remember beating the Jags 3 times in a season in 99, 2000. So I know we can beat the Ravens within a calendar year 3 times. So I think we're going to win 38-35. And Justin Tucker's going to miss a crucial field goal.
I like it.
I love it.
I want some more of it.
I was hoping somebody to jump in and get that. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us in this episode. The first ever playoff preview episode in Two-Tone Blue Nation Talk history. Guys, this is not the end. We'll be back for another episode next week. Until then, tighten up.
Tighten up.
Tighten up.
We got to go.
Here it comes. Football.
But you've been listening to Two-Tone Blue Nation. If it's Tennessee Titans football, it's here. It's here. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back soon. But until then, find us on Twitter at TwoToneBlueNat1. Find Big Luke at Two-Tone Big Luke and King Cole at Two-Tone Blue Cole. Find us on Instagram at Two-Tone Blue Nation. Till next time, Titans Nation.
Spartans! What is your profession?